Hello and welcome to the Nicole Mason Show, the show where we bring trailblazing women, high achieving women, women who are movers and shakers in their respective industries and vocations, women who have turned trials into triumphs and setbacks into steps that have caused them to succeed and soar. Let me tell you, today I'm so excited about this awesome sister that I am bringing to the Nicole Mason Show. She is my personal mentor. Wait a minute, let me back it up. My personal money-making mentor. And let me just read a little bit of her bio. Trust me when I tell you, this is just a short snippet because she has an extensive bio of accomplishments that follow her. Dr. Avis Jones-DeWeever is a media commentator, award-winning author, global speaker, and media monetization mentor. She helps entrepreneurs, executives, and social change agents understand how to strategically leverage the power of the media to build their brand, spread their message, and monetize their expertise. Her clients range the gamut from small business owners to major corporations, nonprofit organizations, and governmental entities based both domestically and abroad. Dr. Avis is also the co-founder of Max Black Media, a new digital streaming network that provides news and information, educational and entertaining programming specifically meant to center the Black experience and maximize Black political and economic power, launching this year. Outside of Max Black, Dr. Avis's distinct perspectives have been shared through a variety of media outlets, including, this is just a small few of them, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, PBS, C-SPAN, TV One, BET, BBC, NPR, Sirius XM Radio, The Washington Post, The Atlantic, The Huffington Post, Essence Magazine, Ebony Magazine, Black Enterprise Magazine, The Griot, NBC Black, and trust me when I tell you, many, many more. Now, to find out about Dr. Avis or to participate in her next masterclass, and we're going to be talking about that. I'm going to share my own personal experience. Go to perfectmediapitch.com. Again, perfectmediapitch.com. And we'll have that on our social media platforms. Well, anyways, Dr. Avis, welcome to the Nicole Mason Show.
I'm so excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited to have you. Now, we have to jump right in. And I want to just start by telling the audience that I am currently in your mentorship program where you are helping us to monetize our expertise. And it's been life-changing. Number one, really understanding that we have the power. We have the power on the inside of us. And me coming from a ministry background, I just needed that extra push and that extra kick in the behind, which you give so eloquently. that we need to get out there, we meaning particularly Black women. And so I have to start by asking, why entrepreneurship is so important to you from your vantage point.
Thank you for asking me that question. And it's such a joy to be here once again. This issue is so important for Black women because for many years, my background is I've been a policy wonk in the Washington, D.C. think tank world. And my area of expertise is actually the intersection of race, gender, and the economy. So for many years, I was one of those people, one of those kind of nerdy people running all those numbers and writing those reports that oftentimes you will hear about in the news. Mm-hmm. One of the areas that I always focused on was how women fare in the economy across different racial categories. And as a Black woman, of course, I'm particularly concerned about Black women.
Right.
And it was super frustrating me to see how much Black women work, we have a higher labor force participation rate than all other women in America, and have been that way since like the beginning of this nation, obviously. And then when you look at what we get for the labor that we provide, it is infuriating to me. And so to me, I came to the realization that ultimately, if we are ever to be paid fairly in this world, it's my belief that we have to have the power to write our own checks. And that's why I'm so passionate about entrepreneurship, and particularly entrepreneurship by Black women, so that we can finally get compensated at the level that we deserve for our genius.
Yeah. And let me just say, before we go into your story, I have to just talk about some of the numbers that me and my colleagues in the mentorship program have seen, talking about, $100,000 days, like, whoa, right? Me, myself, 2 days, $25,000, $40,000 month. I mean, just been 5-figure months. And it's for me, it's part-time. Let me just say that in the listening audience ears, it's for me, it's part-time. But your clients have had tremendous success. And so talk about just a few of those success stories.
Absolutely. This is why I do it. I mean, really, this is the reason to hear these success stories, because it makes me feel good that we are literally changing lives. So, for example, taking people like a Sharon, for example, coming to us after having only about $25,000 annual revenue in her business for many years. And then within her first year with us, making well over $200,000, almost hitting the $300,000 mark. And guess what? When she started her second year, her eye was set on hitting 7 figures. And so in that first quarter after that, she hit over 300,000 in her first quarter. So she is on the path towards her first 7-figure year. But as you know, she's not the only one. We've had people like Blossom with her $100,000 days. We've had people like Michelle she did $120,000 in her first 120 days, and then followed that up with another $100,000 month. JR had I think it's up to 4 now, $100,000 months. So we have come to a place where we have built this little island that is really around this concept of Black abundance. And what I have found is that when you're in that group of go-getters, of really heavy hitters like that, and you see at the end of the day, they're really not different than you, it sorts of takes the chains off your mind around what you believe is possible, right? And when you see other people doing it, then you know you can do it too. And so it's kind of become, the lay of the land in our little world.
Yeah. And that's so true, because I do believe in the power of flow, because money is currency. Money, it comes from the word which means currency, and it's always flowing. But you're absolutely correct, really having to get into the mindset. And that's one of the things that I think you have been masterful at, but you are masterful at really helping people to see their potential and, recalling back to them things that they have already accomplished. I know that was my experience when I had my one-on-one with you, the VIP session, because I took quick action when it was time to do that, to get that one-on-one time with you, to start out, to get a blueprint for success, if you will, but also understanding that when you have all of these people moving in the same direction, it is a powerful force, because those are just a few of the people. I mean, there are many of us that are saying, oh yes, I had a 5-figure month again, and looking towards a 6-figure month. And so let me just ask you, because we hear about this major success, because it is major success, and you two continue to grow. And I love the fact that, you are a multi-millionaire. Let's just pause right there for the cause, multi-millionaire. But share with the audience how things started for you in terms of your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, so, it started for me at a moment in which it probably was not the most comfortable moment, but I think sometimes out of discomfort, comes a determination to make the difference that can literally change your life. And so
Mhm.
I found myself at this space of transition. I had recently left my husband, literally with just my boys and everything that I could fit in the back of my SUV, literally starting over from scratch. And then soon after that, ended up having to leave my job after having, witnessing some stuff there that I was like, no, this is not going to be the place for me. And
Mhm.
so literally it was a, no failure is allowed type of moment, right? I could not fail because I had to create a way to replace the income from that job, to not only replace the income from that job, but in my mind, I wanted to be able to create enough income so that the lifestyle for my children would not change dramatically from what they experienced when they had two incomes coming in the house.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so when I decided, hey, instead of looking for that next job, I'm going to follow this sort of desire that I've had for many years, which is to start my own business. And when I do it, I'm going to do it at a very high level because I don't have time to mess around, and
Mhm.
having that need to provide and to show up great, no pun intended, for my
Mhm.
children so that their lifestyle would not suffer. It gave me the motivation to get out there and move beyond any sort of comfort zone that I had to do what I had to do to succeed. And that's really how it happened. It came out of this area of discomfort, of a transition, but it also came in this moment in my life in which I knew I had to make a way out of no way, and I refused to fail.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know that many people listening can, really relate to that, and it resonates deeply with them, particularly in this time of the quote, quote, great resignation.
Yes.
And, I've seen, this program has also been a space for people who are trying to figure things out.
Mhm.
And so, how did you start? What did you use to start with?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because my business has evolved over the years.
Mhm.
The first iteration of what I did, my very first business was as a consultant in that Washington, D.C. wonky space that I just described where I used to work. That's
Mhm.
where most of my network was, what my connections were. And I knew that I could help them do some things based upon my knowledge, based in my skills.
Mhm.
But then I had this idea that, hey, this skill set is great right here in DC, but in other parts of the country, of the world, nobody really cares.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love traveling. I did not want to have to build a business where I would only be able to get my clients in that one little geographic area. I literally wanted a quote unquote laptop lifestyle type of business that I could do anywhere. And so
Mhm.
I pivoted from that to DE&I consulting.
Mhm.
That went very well. And then from there, after my business did well there, I decided, hey, I would love to help other women be able to improve their businesses too, and went into the sort of the business and media
Mhm.
training space, because one of the secrets to my success in terms of having my business sort of succeed very quickly and at a high level was I tapped into my media background to gain exposure for my business. And so I teach people how to do that, but I also teach people those business principles that they need in order to be successful and be successful quickly.
Mhm. And so what I hear from that is, start where you are and use what you have.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I love about you, because you focus and hone right in on those skill sets. Because a lot of times, you think that you need to, go out and just start from scratch, get something new going in terms of new information, when really what you have inside of you is profitable when you get with the right people at the right time.
Absolutely. I think exactly right. What you already have, if you have a job right now, somebody's paying you to do something. That means that you have a skill set that you are utilizing that has value. It's
Mhm.
just that you are utilizing that for another person's business. It is no reason why you can't utilize that very same skill set for your business. Now, you might transition over the years like I do, and I think oftentimes business is very much an evolutionary state. There are some businesses that stay in the same lane forever, but I would argue that most of us evolve. Even Amazon just started out selling books, and look at it now. It sells everything that you can
Mhm.
imagine right under the sun. So most businesses evolve over time. Allow yourself the space to do that, but know that the most important thing that you need to do is just get started. Get started where you are right now and then grow from there.
Yeah. And that's so powerful. And, I love every week we start out, we know what we're going to get for the whole week, because every week we get our email saying, okay, this is what's going on this week. We have our deep dives and all these different things and all these wonderful speakers and all the powerful people that are on your team. Everybody's coming together to help those of us in the program. But one of the things that I think is so critically important is the fact that you every week are encouraging us in a variety of different forms. And, just to know the time in which we find ourselves. Can you just talk a little bit about the importance of betting on yourself at this time in which we find ourselves?
Oh my goodness, I would love to talk about this. Oh my God, because I think that right now, obviously, people are looking at what we're going through right now with the pandemic. The whole world has been impacted, not only in terms of our health, but in terms of our economy. And some people look at that as doom and gloom. I look at that and see the exact opposite situation going on. I think this is a moment of prime opportunity. It is a moment of prime opportunity. Trust and believe. Over the past couple of years, most of the public has been spending more time at home. That means they haven't been paying money to commute. That means for a big chunk of that time, they weren't paying money to babysitters, and they've had that money stack up. People have money to spend right now. And so right now, honestly, is one of the best times ever to be in business, because people do have more disposable income right now. And because of the power of technology, if you understand how to leverage the digital space, you can make a boatload of money with very little expenses on your part, because you're not going to have to pay for a storefront. You're not going to have those other sort of expenses that you would have in a traditional sort of brick and mortar atmosphere. So you put those two things together, and now is the perfect time, not only to build a business, but to have a business that thrives.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, I know that when people look at social media, everybody seems to just kind of be balling, and, everybody's a full-time entrepreneur. And I use that in quotes. But, I always tell my husband, you can be whomever you want to be online. Right.
Oh.
And so I know that some people listening, they may be saying, well, I can't be a full-time entrepreneur, and I am one myself, I am a dualpreneur, parallelpreneur, whatever you want to call it, and have been for some time. Only after getting into your program have I experienced the kind of money that was always available, just did not have that ingredient to pull the plug on a lot of different things that I've learned in this program. But what would you say to, someone listening? They're like, well, I have this job, I have this idea, but I don't know, should I leave my job? Well, and I'm looking at him with the side eye. What? Because I remember, some time ago, you having a wonderful coaching program called Fire Your Boss. Yes. But everything is a process. So talk a little bit about your thoughts on, your advice that you would give to somebody who is working, but can't afford to quit their jobs, but they have this idea also.
Absolutely. So my first bit of advice would be absolutely not. Mm-hmm. Absolutely do not just up and quit your job tomorrow and start from dead zero. No. I think that it's always the best strategy to start it off on the side in that dualpreneur range that you're talking about right now. Even Sharon, that I just mentioned a minute ago, who went from 25,000 to 200,000 in her first year, did a 300,000 at the beginning of her second quarter with us, or the first quarter of the second year with us. Mm-hmm. She did that all as a full-time employee. That was all on the side. I mean, I just want you to really get that. Mm-hmm. Having your business on the side does not mean that you can't make money. And it's also the most, I would say, logical way to transition to that full-time entrepreneurial space. Mm-hmm. I would suggest, I always think it's a good idea to create enough revenue in your business such that you can at least 150% volume of what you make on your salary. So you're not only matching your salary, you're at least exceeding your salary by at least 50%, because there are going to be other sort of expenses that you're going to have to take care of as an entrepreneur that's probably built into your employment agreement. For example, health insurance, those other things like that, that you might be getting help with from your employer. So know that you can do them both at the same time. And even with me, as I mentioned, I had to quit my job, but while I was working, I did have like a little side gig with NPR, had a little short form radio show with NPR. And it was that check from NPR that I was getting that was in essence my side hustle from my real job that helped me have some level of stability as I was getting my business up and running. Like if I didn't have that, I don't even know how that would have been possible. So I think the worst thing you can do is just up and quit your job and try to start from ground zero, because you need to allow yourself the time that's necessary to create and run on that runway before you can expect your business to actually take off.
Yeah. And that's so awesome. And I totally agree. And, I just remember that, made me think when I graduated law school and was preparing to, get myself out there and hang out my shingle, as they call it. The lady who was giving us the training, she said exactly the same thing that you said. She said, when you go to hang out your shingle, you don't tell anybody you're part-time. You just hang your shingle out and you start working, and you just continue to build. And so I appreciate that about you and appreciate that about the program. And our time is wrapping up, but I want you to tell people, because this is a great segue into the masterclass that you have, and you offer it, quarterly, ever so often, to tell people about, this awesome and amazing program. And it is just that. So share with people that about the next masterclass and, some of what they can anticipate and how they can register to be a part of that masterclass.
Absolutely. So we're so excited to be launching our first masterclass of this year. It's called the Perfect Media Pitch Masterclass, and we kick off on January 31st. And what I'm excited about it is this is bigger, better, bolder than ever. Okay. Yeah. Because not only do you get a skill set that you can literally use for the rest of your life in your business, how to craft a pitch that will get you placed in the media, which, let me tell you, once you learn the skill of how to get on TV for free, then you are in a space where you can literally put your business and your brand in front of millions. And I always like to say, if you can reach millions, you can make millions. So literally, this is a skill set that has the potential of really bringing you gobs of money into your business for years. But in addition to that, we offer bonus trainings around everything from mediagenic branding, so you know how to show up right online, to how to get that mindset right to be able to receive millions, which we kind of touched on a little bit today. And then I tell a few secrets about my 6-figure month earners too. That's another bonus training. So it's a really great experience. You can sign up right now at perfectmediapitch.com. That's perfectmediapitch.com. We'll be happy to have you.
Yeah. And let me just say, the teaching during that masterclass is so rich. And, you're going to walk away with some powerful information, not just about, how to pitch the media, but really the backstory about, the studies that you've done. And because you've been so inundated over the years, and how, Black women, the amount of money that they have not been able to make, and what they are capable of. The last masterclass, I invited several people and several of them signed up. I was so excited for them. But I had conversations with a couple of them afterwards, just the amount of information they received during that time that was just eye-opening. The statistic that you talked about and how you were sharing the differences in the annual incomes between the different racial backgrounds of women, white women versus Black women versus Hispanic women. It was so eye-opening that, the people were like, oh yeah, I need to sign up. I need to sign up for that, because when you really understand that you are gifted, you are talented, you are educated, and yet your bank account is not showing that, it's like there was a disconnect.
Yeah, something's wrong
And
with that picture.
yeah, and so the masterclass and the program is really that bridge between the two. And so I want to just thank you so much, Dr. Avis, not just for being on my show today, but also for the work that you are doing. And I have to just put this in because, my grandmother was an entrepreneur for 50 years.
Wow.
And I have to just, ask you about, your family background, because I know your dad was very instrumental in your entrepreneurial life. So just talk briefly about dad before we close out.
Yeah. So, my dad was my heart, honestly. And like your grandmom, he was an entrepreneur for about the same amount of time, probably even more. He started his business as a young child, ultimately became he owned a lumber company. And I got to see what it was like for him to be successful. And it wasn't until I was older when I really thought about and really understood what he must have had to go through to get it, was I even more awe-inspired by it. The fact that starting off as a sharecropper, as a child, having to take care of his family after his father passed, and then building this business from the ground up in the Jim Crow South as a Black man and building it to success. It's something that I am inspired to this day. And to me, it's a big inspiration that has led me to be able to be successful in my business as well.
Yeah, so awesome. And, we stand on the shoulders of some very powerful people. And I always like to say, may not know my grandmother's name, but when you see me, you definitely see her. And I always feel like her success was a matter of survival, just like your dad. My success, your success is a matter of choice.
Yes.
We could do it this way or do it another way. And one final thing that I just want to say, because you said this in one of our trainings the other day, which was so powerful, just about how you have always known that you can just create wealth. And so I want you to talk just briefly about that, let people know and encourage the people who are listening about the ability to be able to go within and create your own wealth.
To me, this is the most beautiful thing about being an entrepreneur. And it's the fact that there literally are no limits on what you can achieve, what you can amass, what you can grow. I am very clear that I'm about the business of creating intergenerational wealth. That is what I am looking to do. And as an entrepreneur, know that there should never be anything that you say that you want that you can't get, because you have the ability literally to make money. All you have to do is figure out, how much is that thing that I want? How much do I sell whatever I sell for? And then do the math around how many of those things that you sell, you need to sell to get what you want. That's it. And you can think about that in terms of big things like your children's education, like your dream house. You can think about it in terms of smaller things. Okay. But the bottom line is, everything that you want is within your reach and capacity as an entrepreneur. You don't have anybody putting ceilings on your earning potential. That to me is powerful.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Listen, if you are listening, perfect media pitch, perfectmediapitch.com. You need to join this masterclass coming up January 31st. And I just want to thank you. Thank you for changing my life and so many other entrepreneurs' lives. And you are doing it with such grace and with such excellence. And that's too, I also appreciate about you and your team. I have to give them a shout out because we have our individual champions within the program, and they are always rooting us on in the form of the coaches that help you, who serve on your team. Let me tell you, perfectmediapitch.com is where you want to be. And so I want to thank you for tuning in again to the Nicole Mason Show. And you can follow me across social media at Nicole S. Mason, ESQ, and my website, NicoleSMason.com. And be sure to join my Facebook group, Confidence Champions, where we are helping women to be confident in what they have been called to do in the earth. We know that you have something more powerful in you as well. So thank you again for joining the Nicole Mason Show.